Ladies, are you the one who gets it all done? Always pushing forward, always striving, in the constant chase for success. When was the last time you took a moment just for you? We are always on the go, rushing from one task to the next, barely pausing to catch our breath. What if we took a moment to pause? Imagine listening in, really listening to the wind, your heartbeat, your soul. What if slowing down was the key? A chance to discover a deeper connection with yourself. And from that connection, expand it to those you love, to the moments that truly matter. Pause, reflect, connect. It's time to live fully from the inside out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Soulful Pause. I am Josette Diaz. I'm a self-awareness coach and creative strategist for women in midlife. And I have the honor today of bringing on Adam Dickinson. Adam is an expert in logic to intuition integration who helps people understand and interpret their inner intelligence as their awareness expands. After spending more than 15 years solving problems through logic at the FBI, Adam experienced an internal shift, one that required him to navigate inner signals, emotional resonance, and expanded states of awareness in a grounded, practical way. He now supports U.S. federal workers who are transitioning into career paths that feel more aligned. His work brings clarity, confidence, and structure to a process that often feels confusing and overwhelming. This is going to be a powerful, grounded conversation about what actually happens when your awareness expands and how to move through inner evolution with both logic and intuition working together. Did I say your name correctly, Adam?
Did.
Great. And we are going to have a really good conversation because Adam has a very interesting background. I think you're all going to really enjoy this conversation today because Adam has been in the FBI as an agent and he has made a transition for as a Akashic record reader, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I was an analyst and then I incorporate the Akashic Records into my new business practices.
hmm
Yep.
Which is very exciting to like have a conversation around that dynamic. And so I think we should just kind of dive in to that. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience, Adam, about what that felt like transitioning from being in an agency into the field that you're now choosing to do?
Yeah, I think for me, the big change from where I was to where I am now is learning how to use the skills that I have developed, my experience, how to use my experiences and how to support people now.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, and I'm sure if you were to talk to any security related professional, for the longest time when I was trying to figure out my own career path,
Mhm.
I realized that most of the information in my head was classified. And I had a little bit of a limiting belief of like, well, I can't really do anything outside of government.
Yeah.
Um, and it took me a while reflecting, even going into my own Akashic records to figure out how do I move forward. And for me, and what I'm doing now is incorporating my Akashic Records expertise, but then more of my analytics side, and helping individuals piece together logically what's happening, but also energetically and within the body of what those signals are telling individuals to help paint a path that feels right, but also makes sense.
I love that. So I read in your bio that you're also helping others transition from being in corporate and systems, correct? And
Yes. Hmm.
okay, so that they can find that passion, that creative side of themselves. Has that been something that you feel passionate about prior to, and or has it been a passion that you discovered while you went through it yourself?
Yeah, good question. So for me, my vision and well, let me start with my purpose is to teach and show others how to have more sovereignty and agency over their life and decision making.
Mhm.
Another way I've described it is I teach people how to integrate logic and intuition to make aligned decisions. So with that in mind, that's my purpose and vision. Or my vision is to create sort of a new norm where, I don't say new, but a more commonplace norm where metaphysical data is incorporated into decision making.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, I was thinking through if I leave the FBI and if I leave government, what am I going to do next? And I really wanted to be my own boss for a little bit. And for that to happen, I was trying to figure out who do I support, who do I serve, and learning all the business terms and concepts and frame of mind, the the term go to market strategy kind of stuck out. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, there's something happening in government space right now. And I was a Fed, or at the time I was a Fed and federal worker, and I can speak their language, their acronyms, uh,
Hmm.
what they may be going through. And I'm like, well, if I'm not in an agency anymore, maybe I can just be in my own solopreneur company and kind of
Yeah.
support the American people in a different way. And so that's where the f focus on supporting federal workers more or less came from.
Mhm.
But my long-term vision is to help as many people right now of what's happening, but then pivot to something else down the road.
I love that. I think that, so many of us get started in the entrepreneurial journey, and we start with obviously an idea and a spark, and then that ends up morphing into different things. And what I've found interesting about that, and you probably have too, because I spoke to you previously. We've had a previous conversation several months ago, and I've already seen something else happening with you that's different than when we first spoke. And I know I was in a different place myself, and so things are different now for me too. And what I love about that, though, and I think that other people will find it interesting, is that it really does, even though it shifts, you think it's doing something different. It's really not. It's really just the thing that you had originally intended has just continued to expand.
Hmm.
And that's such a great thing for people to kind of, I guess, sit with because once you embark on that journey, you think it's going to be a linear line that goes straight to where it is that you expect to be, and it's not.
Right.
It's not linear.
Yeah, it certainly isn't, but I think the dance on how to navigate that is an important piece.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So since we're kind of talking about that, when you kind of made this shift for yourself, so many people can feel the internal signal before or it starts to occur to them because they don't quite have the language for it. So, what are the early signs that someone's awareness is actually expanding, even if they don't yet understand it? Is there any tangible markers that might help with the experience you've had?
Yeah, how much time do you have? Well, yeah, I would say some of the internal markers for me were how does my body feel in the current situation from day to day? My energy levels, where is it? rising and falling? Is it sustaining with my day-to-day activities? My breath, is it calm? Is it excited? Is it waning? Is it nervous or anxious? I think I often do one ritual, a somatic ritual of doing like a body scan, even when I need to take a pause to focus in on either a certain part of my body or just overall of what's happening. And that really provides me sort of an overview
Mhm.
of current state, but not only do I look at my emotions, my energy, and even how my body is responding to a certain situation, but I also go into my Akashic records, and it's a little bit the experience with the records for me is more granular, more detailed, more alive, versus my somatic body awareness approach. It's probably because I don't have as a deep expertise in that area, but I will complement the internal signals that I'm feeling and noticing with my body with my Akashic records, and it's sort of like the records for me are like an amplifier,
Mhm.
and I'm able to get more I don't say useful, but uh, because I'm used to the Akasha records, but
Yeah.
it's another sort of mind, body, heart centered approach to getting additional data.
Mm. Okay, so that's going to lead me to a whole other question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, happy to answer it.
So for those that might have a understanding of Akashic records, at least in a general sense, like, oh, yes, I've heard of that. Oh, I know it's like a library.
Hmm.
What would be the definition or how would you explain Akashic records to someone and how is that relatable to like what you were just saying? You check in with your Akashic records when you feel these different sensations. You're working with somatic exercises
Hmm.
to keep your nervous system in check.
Yep.
And then you're also checking through the Akashic records. So how does that all come together? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Sure. I will try to simplify it as best as I can. And this is just to tie it in, this fits into my four-step into logic framework, which is step one is to recognize those signals. Step two is to interpret them. Step three is to make aligned decisions around it. And step four is to act on it. But from what I'm hearing, your question, this is more along step two or step one and step two of recognize and interpret those signals.
Hmm.
Mm, For the Akashic Records, I would describe it as you said, an energetic library of information from your soul that provides answers to your deeper questions. And it is a caring, trusting, supportive tool that you can engage through it's kind of like a radio station
Yeah.
that you can tap into through a meditative process or as you advance more of a present moment process where you can gain clarity on anything. Funny enough, I'm helping one client gain clarity on his book chapters at the moment. So, any sort of thing you need support on, it's always there. But uh, that's how I would describe it. And for me, what led me to it is I was looking for a tool to help support my more logic-centric, structured thinker approach to life.
Yeah.
And it provides sort of an energetic context and a reframe of what the logical mind sees,
Mm.
hears, interprets. So that external stimulus outside the body is more or less perceived and observed by the mind.
Hmm.
But the records for me are like an added bonus um, from an internal point of view, from an energetic point of view. So it adds another layer of complexity. Um, which is fun, but if you're looking at it from trying to make decisions moving forward, it takes the decision-making landscape from sort of a two-dimensional approach to like a three-dimensional approach. It adds another layer of complexity.
Hmm.
So, but that's generally how I use it, my mindset around the Akashic records. And how I can see the benefits from it.
So when you say that it brings in a um, 3D kind of perspective for decision making, et cetera, does that mean that because my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that through the Akashic records, you have like your history.
Mm-hmm.
So is that allowing you to, I guess, ensure that decision making is in alignment with whatever journey you're on in this lifetime?
Correct. Yeah, if you look at life through, I guess reincarnation could be one concept. And if you believe in reincarnation, you can use the records to look at past lives as a anchoring point
Hmm.
um, to notice, interpret information going forward. It can give you context.
Okay.
Uh, for me, I often, I don't know, it's just kind of my personality. Once I make a decision, I keep moving forward. However, if there is a point where I need to do some research into myself, essentially,
Yeah, yeah.
I will do more historic past life experiences, questioning in my records, but more or less, most of my time is on the present moment and
Right.
moving forward.
Yeah.
But it is helpful to understand where you've been and where you're going.
I guess I asked that question mostly because does it indicate like patterns that may be carrying over that you continue to sort of latch onto or are repetitive in your life now?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's past life or not, I'm not necessarily interested in diving into that,
Hmm.
just because I think we can get stuck there. It's kind of like playland, right? And
Yeah.
and although I think that that information, just like if we spoke of like our genetic histories,
Hmm.
it is helpful, valuable, important information, yet it's not the whole picture. I guess that's what I was trying to clarify there. So what I hear you saying though is it's very interesting, and I think you're just touching on it, and there's more to this, that uh, through the Akashic records, it's a almost like a touchstone in a sense.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And how does that differ from like information that we have? Sometimes I think that in the area of spirituality, self-improvement, you'll
Hmm.
hear different things. So, like if we were speaking in the context of our higher selves,
Hmm.
true self, however you want to frame that,
Hmm.
what are the differences between Akashic records? Because I'm hearing bits and pieces that are making me ask this question.
Uh-huh.
So, are there similarities? How does that integrate? Is it
Yeah.
all the same?
Sure. So so from my experience, there are similarities, but there are also differences. So I
Mhm.
also look at the Akashic records from a view of the higher self perspective. You could also, I guess, bucket that into esoteric concepts.
Mhm.
I also look at it from a mindfulness category, from a science category, from a decision science category, and spirituality category. So, depending on the lens you want to use the Akashic Records, it can help you. It just depends on your intention and what you want to get out of it. But if I heard your question, for me, yeah, the records can be complex, but they can be easy. Just depends on what you want to do with it.
Okay, fair enough. I like that information about how um, the higher self is part of, not all of, and vice versa. Right? Did
Hmm.
I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
So, if we're speaking about, I want to go back to the things that you were talking about, that you feel in your body,
Hmm.
and when you speak of like having emotional resonance as
Uh-huh.
information, right? Can you walk us through how someone can recognize emotional resonance as a truth signal rather than just a feeling?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's juicy. So let me ask you first, are you familiar with human design?
Yes.
Okay, great. And hopefully your audience is familiar with it, but I am a manifesting generator and I am a 3-5, I think it's what it's called. I'm not a human design expert, but I want to set the scene of how I want to answer your question. So for my gut response, I tend to uh, get information and wait to respond. And for me, um, in terms of emotions and the truth to them or not, uh, I tend to have a gap of when to make a decision. So,
Right.
that decision could happen fairly quickly. There could be a delay. Um, but I do realize that I need a moment to take in additional information. So with my emotions, often I feel, especially around like my chest and my stomach area or my torso area, if I'm really excited, curious, um, uh, I guess, yeah, probably the excitement emotion is the best sort of signature for around my truth, as a truth evaluator. But uh, because my approach to my human design is to respond, I need to wait a moment and then make a decision. Um, I will take my emotions into account in their current moment, but then sit with it for it could be a brief moment. It could be, as I mentioned before, a longer time. So the best example I can give is I was introduced to an individual, a lady, just through a networking, and she had all these questions about the Akashic records, great questions, and I was just like, "Oh my God, you're amazing!" Like very open-minded individual, and I just was so like, just wanted to share more and more and more. And to me, during the whole in conversation, not only was my body like lit up, but I was also getting my clairaudience is very strong.
Yeah.
And I would get sort of messages too of like, okay, essentially like pay attention. And so I would also follow that as well as a sort of emotional truth evaluator. But to your question, um, I first recognize the emotion. Second, I notice the intensity, uh, and how long it lasts. And then third, because of my human design, I take a moment to pause and then I make a decision.
Yes. Okay. So I love that analogy of like giving people steps,
Mm,
because I think it's important to, your body feels it first.
hmm
and then your mind jumps in.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very interesting. I know when you speak of human design, I'm a manifesting generator as well, so I'm
Okay.
informed by my sacral,
Uh-huh.
So I can relate to what you're saying, and that analogy that you gave, I think is really interesting. And when we when we start to notice and allow ourselves to, I think everyone should give space to any decisions that we make, just
Hmm.
because if we aren't giving enough space, just in general terms, no matter what your human design is,
Hmm.
or if you even dive into that, that giving yourself that moment to breathe and to just sit with the feeling for a moment
Right.
is really important because we are in such a fast-paced world
Right.
and we're consistently, just always on the go that we can get into our autonomic nervous system so easily.
Hmm.
So people that have lived primarily in a rational thinking realm, why do inner shifts disrupt that old framework work so strongly? And what actually happens in their inner system when that's occurring? I'm asking you some deep stuff today.
Yeah. Well,
In life, we all move through seasons, moments of growth, change, challenge, and renewal. What if you could understand your inner seasons and learn to navigate them with clarity and purpose? Introducing Seasons of the Soul, a transformational system designed to help you tune into your emotional rhythms, align with your truth, and step into your next chapter. And now, for the first time ever, we're bringing this experience to a vibrant new home, the Seasons of the Soul School community. Inside school, you'll find guided tools, soulful teachings, and a community moving through life just like you. A place to learn, to grow, to be seen, to reconnect with yourself in every season. Seasons of the Soul, your journey, your rhythm, your community. Join us and begin your next season today.
I mean, for me, I can only, share my experiences. So what happened for me on how, like, logically nothing made sense anymore and my internal system shifted was, I was in a very committed and loving relationship with someone. And when that ended and we separated, my identity was wrapped up in him, and my desires and wishes were wrapped up to him. Kind of similar to what you might have been sharing a little earlier before we jumped on the call.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and I didn't really I started to go into really troubling time, very
Hmm.
dark time. And ironically, if your audience is familiar with the phrase of the dark night of the soul, my insides essentially were ripped
Yeah.
into. And I think because I was in one reality, you could say, with this individual, and then that reality was no longer.
Hmm.
Yeah, nothing made sense. I was like, what do I do? How do I cope? What's the point of XYZ? And I was trying to find any sort of way to continue forward.
Hmm.
And inside, because I wanted to be with this individual, but I couldn't, I was fighting myself.
Hmm.
And I didn't really know how to unfight myself. I don't know. That's not
Yeah.
probably the word,
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
yeah. So it created a couple impact. Like I think I got vertigo over the situation. So
Hmm.
um, the internal fight and friction really just broke me in two.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's what led me to notice more of my internal system.
I find this really fascinating, Adam, because I can really relate to what you're expressing here. Um, Before I started my business, I went through a complete upheaval in my family structure, my marriage, everything upside down.
Hmm.
And so, and I do believe that that situation truly happened for me to be able to walk into what was meant for me.
Hmm.
And sometimes it takes something that makes you feel like you're going to break.
Hmm.
And now look at where you are. Like,
Yeah,
I find that it's interesting to me that I hear this story over and over. As what I was commenting on, that it's common for us to go through something that feels like the dark night of the soul that you've mentioned,
hmm.
in that sense of feeling like it's a complete re-identification of yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable enough to share it because I know that that's, you know, part of our private internal workings, and so it's nice that you share it because it I think that people then can um, relate to parts of the story. They relate to parts of things that we speak of when it's hard for us, and so thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Thank you.
Um, I would like to ask you a little bit more because I want to make sure we get to this about, you mentioned it earlier in the beginning of our conversation.
Uh-huh.
You're into logic,
Yeah.
and this is a method that you've developed, correct?
Yes. I use it every day.
I love that. So, can you kind of talk to us about what that is so that the listeners can understand how logic and intuition can work together in real time?
Yeah, sure. So, just recapping sort of the steps. Step one is to recognize the signals either emotionally, physically, or intuitively, and then external signals as well, what you see, hear,
Hmm.
those things. And then step two, interpret, um, you, sort of using your mind to understand the data, comprehend it, translate it if you can. Step three, align all those different signals together
Yeah.
to from your inner intelligence and then your rational thinking to come to a decision point, a judgment. And then step four is to just take action from there. Don't, but the kicker is not to take action where you feel forced or rushed. It's from a calm place where there's coherence among everything.
Mm.
So, I can give an example, the recent example. Let's see. I'll give an easy example. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to eat for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I had in of course there's hunger, there's thirst, but I noticed my um and I often do this too in the mornings, that there wasn't a complete desire to have a full-on meal.
Hmm.
So I have that sort of baseline internally. Then I look at the fridge. I look at what's available, what kind of feeling, I think about what kind of feeling do I want to have afterwards. I look at what's expired, what's needs to be eaten. So look at it from a financial point of view. If you want to, cut down costs. I look at it from what's going to give me energy throughout the day. So I look at my external reality very in different dimensions, different uh, concepts, if you will, and then I combine the two. Uh,
Nice.
I combine what's happening in my body, what's happening outside my body, and then make a decision accordingly. Um, that's probably the most simple, recent example I can give. But when you are looking to make decisions that are a lot more heavy, a
Mhm.
lot more consequential, I do a lot more advanced techniques, like bring in my Akashic records, do a little bit more strategy around that, and so forth.
Okay. So where do the Akashic records fit into that structure?
Yeah, well, they can fit into actually any step, but I largely use it for the step two, interpret, and step three, align.
Okay.
So, for me, as I mentioned before earlier, the Akashic Records adds another layer of granularity, depth, context, detail, vi like vibe around the decision, and because it's able to do that, I can get better quality data and when I'm interpreting it to then decide what kind of decision I want to make. So in step three, the records helps me um, refine disparate data sources into something that I know I can trust. Because when I'm in my records, I know it's a safe space, it's for
Mhm.
my highest good. And so it essentially filters out a lot of noise. And whatever I perceive in my records, I'm automatically make a decision from there. It's like a quick hit solution.
So is that data that you're getting from the Akashic records, is that data that is current data sifting out what the situation is presenting itself with, what all the obstacles could be, et cetera? Is it allow you to connect to that energy stream of, I guess I'm asking like, are you pulling old information forward or is it assessing what exists?
Yeah, oh, that's a complex, or the answer can be complex, depending on a variety of things. So one of the main strengths of the Akashic Records is the art of the question.
Mm,
Whereas if you look at other intuitive modalities, um, uh, the question that you ask doesn't either apply
mhm,
or it doesn't have it doesn't hold weight on the decision that you make. So what I mean is the art of the question when you're going to the records, the answer that you receive is either of high quality or not. So that the question you have to what I do for myself and why I encourage clients if they want to learn from me with the records is knowing what is the best question you want to ask and why. Um, because once you have the intention with the question, you'll get different data accordingly. So it could be with the present moment, it could be more future based, it could be more past based. Um, and it could also be energetic signatures that you're picking up from around you. It could be someone else. It could be um, a lot of different things. So it becomes more complex. So it's eh, really important to know how to approach the Akashic Records as a tool, your intentions with your questions, and
mhm.
how you want to use the answers. So it can be, yeah, quite complex.
Wow, I didn't recognize before that there were that many layers to the Akashic records. I knew it only as one thing.
Hmm.
So, and it never occurred to me that it actually can help you in current everyday experiences.
Hmm.
So how does someone trust that clarity? Like, do they think they're making it up? Is it?
Oh my gosh, you hit like one of the hardest things to overcome because as a longtime logic-centric structured thinker, for the longest time was like, is this real? Is this
Hmm.
like made up. But as an analyst, what I was trained as at the FBI is to test our assumptions. And I
Hmm.
had a bit of an unlock. I was like, well, there's an entire community being paid for this. Like there has to be something going on. And I led with that curiosity and assumption. Like, I'm gonna just work with this because at the time I was like, I was in a bad space. I need something.
Yeah.
But to your point, trusting is one of the most difficult things to do.
Hmm.
And even to be honest with you, I had to do a couple other techniques when I was leaving the FBI to trust the information I was getting. So, for example, I have other intuitive masters, intuitive friends, and I was like, "Hey, can you go into my records and like double check for me?" Because I was having such a hard time trusting, um, because it was such a huge decision, that for myself, uh, it was a moment in my journey in the Akashic Records, in my personal journey, in my professional journey that I was having trouble trusting. But um, what becomes easier is, for me, two things. If you meditate, you're able to recognize information that's more intuitive. Um, when I'm giving readings for myself and others, for example, I know what's coming through the records and what isn't. It feels differently.
Yeah.
Um, Thoughts feel heavy, and maybe because I'm very energetic sensitive.
Hmm.
Um, thoughts feel heavy, whereas intuition feels lighter. It's quicker, so you got to pay attention.
Right. That's true.
uh, and so forth. And once you get that strong impression energetically and take action, it becomes easier. And what I did to help like give myself comfort is if I got like a message, I would say, "Thank you, I hear you," or acknowledging it.
Hmm.
And then that created a moment of pause where I wanted to embrace it and
Mm.
trust it at that point. And because, I grew up a Christian, and so I was trying to reframe how I looked at the world, how I looked at reality,
Yeah.
and these other sort of ways to look at the human experience was a little different from what I was used to. But trusting uh, intuition took some time.
Do you think that it equates to also the feelings that you have in your body when you receive intuitive information?
Yeah, I think the mind-body coherence aspect of it plays a huge role since they're so intertwined and with the current conversations like around the nervous system,
Mm.
I think helpful right now, and is really important in terms of providing additional support around the trusting of intuition.
Yes, yes, I love that. So for our listeners, um, I just kind of want to re-establish the things that you've said around the Akashic records and I think that your system, your method that you've created into logic is a valuable tool to help you, one, make clear decisions, and two, it sounds like there's intuitive knowing happening as well. And if you venture into learning about the Akashic records, you can even integrate that in. Is that part of the Into Logic method that you
It
said?
is. It's just my personal sort of approach to it.
Yes, no, I think it's really lovely and I think very helpful for people to move from a space of I think that, so many things can influence our decisions and we may not have an awareness of it. And so to provide steps in order to get to that place of clarity, I think is extremely valuable. So I appreciate you sharing your method with us into logic. It's a great name, by the way. And so, and I also would like to just kind of like make a note here that, your intuition is always speaking to you. And like you said, it is fast and it can be experienced very quietly. And so you do have to pay attention. But I think that that is something that is part of our expansion is in our human experience is to really focus in on the truth of what matters rather than listening to what our minds have been programmed with, that we have programmed them with, and expecting that our mind is going to be the only answer.
Right. Yeah.
So I really appreciate having this conversation with you today, Adam. Is
Yeah.
there anything coming up that you want to share? I'm going to be putting your information, of course, in the show notes. So is there
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Sure. Yeah. If you're following along, I am having in the future a couple events. I'm also part of a community called the Playhouse where I'm doing a live group Akashic Record session, and then also following up with a brief workshop on talking about my interlogic method. But if you're listening and if you're navigating an internal shift and want more clarity in your decision making, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I share insights each week on how to integrate your inner intelligence and external intelligence to help navigate what you're going through. But otherwise, yeah, keep a lookout. Most of my right now information is on LinkedIn, so happy to connect with you there.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'll put all of your links in the show notes and the information of how to reach out to you. So thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thanks, Josette. Yep, it was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. All right, you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back next week with a soulful pause. Take care.